Welcome back to Let's Laugh About It, the not-so-serious business podcast powered by D2CX. I'm Zoe Kahn, and I'm here to celebrate our wins, vent about our challenges, and bring the D2C and e-commerce community together. Welcome back to Let's Laugh About It with Zoe Kahn. I am the founder of Inevitable Agency, and today I have a special guest, Jack Appleby. Jack Appleby has no idea what the podcast is about. I chose not to tell him anything because I don't know why, actually. I was like just so confident in you, and I was like, we're gonna wing it.
So you could have played this the other way, where it's like, this is my close friend Jack Appleby, who's never once watched my podcast.
Yeah, honestly, yeah.
I don't know if I even knew about it really.
It's like hurts a little, but no, I'm just kidding. Actually, the podcast last year, I did not do a great job at like publicizing it or talking about it, and a lot of the content was like I would do like a CX journey, which is like I was kind of cheating with my podcast. I would like do a YouTube video and be like, "Fuck, I need a podcast episode. I'm gonna like put this on like Spotify."
Sure.
Just because life was so crazy. I actually like talk about this in another episode. I'm not sure if it'll be before or after, but we were talking about how like things don't need to be perfect. Mm-hmm. And so like that's like last year the podcast just was like not anywhere like close to what a podcast should be, honestly. So
no, this is like my whole thing with content. My newsletter has so many typos in it. If there's not a typo a week in my newsletter, like I'm surprised.
We're like jumping right into it. People have no idea who you are.
No idea. None.
But I like want to like ask questions about that. So let's do a quick intro for Jack. So Jack is like the social media guy. If you follow social media content on LinkedIn especially, you probably follow Jack already. But if you don't and you're interested in it, you definitely should. He posts really great content and he has a huge newsletter. So tell the listeners too, like a little bit more and like maybe how you got to where you are.
Yeah. So I worked in agency social media for 15 years. Worked on Microsoft and Beats by Dre and Verizon and Twitch and a whole bunch of video games, and like kind of just got in the industry right when social media budgets kind of became a thing in 2011-ish.
I forgot that like that wasn't a thing.
It wasn't a thing. And like it's funny, like so much of my audience is from this new generation of social pros where they were like, they're not born into social yet, but like it's been part of their lives since they were kids.
Yeah.
Whereas like when I started working professionally in social, like Facebook didn't have video. Instagram was not on Android yet.
Instagram was literally just a picture. No DMs. Remember, it was like kick me. Here's my kick for the DMs.
Kick. I
kick
totally
me.
forgot about that.
Can I have your kick? Are you on Kick?
And I was an Android guy, so I couldn't even use the platforms I was marketing
that's crazy.
for. Like I've since solved that problem. I'm fully Apple across the board
I'm
now.
so happy for you.
Well, I worked for Microsoft.
Oh.
I wasn't allowed to. And then my direct job after Microsoft was working at Beats by Dre, which is owned by Apple. And I had to teach myself Mac in 2 weeks, which is the whole thing.
Okay.
But anyway, like while I was working in that industry, I just sort of started tweeting and writing about social media content, mostly because I had this panic attack where I was like, oh my God, I don't know anyone besides my coworkers. I'm going to want a different job one day, maybe want to pull in a client. I don't really like networking events, or I didn't then. So I was like, let's just start pumping out content and see if I can meet people that way. It worked for me when I was a music journalist in the past. And then kind of built like what was originally just going to be a following, like pretty niche down within the industry, just like to find me like bosses. Expanded to where now I have 70,000 on LinkedIn, 80,000 on Twitter. And then like my primary thing is my newsletter, which in 3 years has 70,000 subscribers now.
That's amazing.
And
your content when you started did you always post about like, here's like tips for social media or?
I think one of my big differentiators is I jumped right into case studies and thinking like bigger pieces.
Cool.
So like even though like I started tweeting, I was doing Twitter threads from day one of this attempt.
Yeah.
My first Twitter thread I wrote with the attempt of meeting people in advertising was this critique of, there's this influencer who she had launched a fashion line. She had several million followers, but she only sold 36 pieces in 3 weeks, like colossal failure.
Interesting.
And I broke down like why I thought that because
I'm pretty sure I saw this tweet actually.
Oh, funny! Like this is.
Have you reused that story?
I've told that story about what it did for me.
Maybe other people have seen it from you, and I saw it because I feel like I've seen that story. But
well, what happened with that was crazy. Was it got picked up by editorial. So like
Oh.
Cosmopolitan picked it up, Fox News picked it up, BuzzFeed picked it up.
Crazy.
And they actually, the stories that they wrote were actually about my thread
Yeah.
more than the influence that happened to. And this has happened to me a few times, and it's definitely helped me gain audiences. Like with my
That's
social.
so cool.
Like last year, I wrote Mr. Beast had done a video, and I don't remember which one it was. It might have been like $1 Million Boat or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I wrote a Twitter thread where it's like 25 retention tactics that
Yeah.
Mr. Beast uses within his video to keep you engaged.
Yeah.
Time Magazine calls me, and they do an article about my breakdown of Mr. Beast's video. So
it's like a whole nother side of content that like I never think about because like you just put good content out there, but then like if your content is reused, it's like so good for your content. So it's like it just like goes to show that you have good content, that people want to like use your content to make content.
Yeah, well, I think it's so much of the industry now, whether you're like a thought leader like I try to do, or if you're just like a regular old creator on Instagram or TikTok, everyone's so focused on short form.
Yeah.
And they think of short form as like quick hit stuff. My specialty is turning short form into high value stuff. So like I have like, besides my social media marketing business, I have about 150,000 followers following my basketball content, which is, those audiences don't know each other. I grew those independently. I turn 90-second Instagram reels into 3-act stories on my basketball accounts.
Is
like I make mini movies.
The following, is it on YouTube or Instagram?
It's about 80K on Instagram, 50K on TikTok, and then I think like 5K on YouTube. I'm like brand new to YouTube.
Yeah.
But like that's where like the short form stuff, you can tell incredible stories in 30 seconds, 60 seconds, 90 seconds. People just don't use it that way.
Yeah.
And the reason I've been able to build my followings in both places is just packing as much value into short form content as humanly possible.
Yeah. It's really interesting, and I want to hear your thoughts about it too. And before we get like super into it, I didn't tell Jack how this podcast works or anything, but the premise is like, at least we want to talk about like laughable moments in business or your career and stuff. So if you want to like think about something while we're like doing that, since I didn't give you, you've got
millions of dumb things I've done throughout my career.
That's perfect. That's what we want to talk about. But one of the things that is happening like in this, which I have kind of like, I keep saying I'm lucky, but luck is, you have to put yourself out there. But right now with my agency, and I focus on retention and customer experience, I feel really like blessed to be in this like part of business, because people are like realizing now that like that's so important, where before it's like, I just give, Facebook $1 and it spits back $10. And now it's so expensive to acquire customers and do the paid media. And like, I have never really been a huge fan of that being the only basis of your business, because it's just like a little bit confusing to me, because I'm like, not confusing, but it just feels a little bit odd where I'm like, you just like, it's crazy. You just like pay for your views and stuff. And I didn't really like understand it before. And I just like have always valued organic social and, retaining your customers. And now that like Meta is getting so expensive, or even just like hard to keep your ad account, people's ad accounts keep getting like banned and all that stuff. And so it's like the companies that are like really, really relying on that like cheap acquisition of a customer and just paying it, like they're struggling now because they don't have like an organic strategy, and they don't have like a lot of customers who are like emotionally connected to the brand because they didn't do the like legwork to make that a part of their strategy. And now it's like, oh no, like 90% of my revenue comes from these ads, and I don't have an organic strategy. And now I'm like, how do I make an organic strategy? So I wanted to like, have you seen on like your side of the shift of like people wanting to be like more invested in organic strategy?
What you just highlighted is a big problem, but it's actually the way into an even larger problem that's happening. Is we've had digital marketers appear over the last 10 years.
That felt like kind of offensive, the way you said digital
marketers.
And you like stared into my soul like, I'm actually like my stomach hurts a little. Are
You're
you?
great. No. What I'm getting at is there's so many people that jumped into digital marketing and learned tactical things like how to run a Facebook ad.
Yeah.
But what they didn't learn is marketing and like core marketing thinking.
Yeah.
So this is where it's like the fact that so much of the industries you and I are part of are now going, wow, it's cheaper to keep a customer than to acquire a new one. Like that's page one of a marketing textbook.
Yeah.
But like it's so many of us came up through digital marketing where we were taught by other digital marketers, or we were like a lot of us were making it up on our own. Like you and I are a similar age. Like we're self-taught for the most part.
Yeah.
Not because our bosses weren't great, because it was all new.
And it was like fun for us, you know, like.
Yeah. And like it's the industry, like on my side, on the social side, the new age of social media marketers, they're not getting into social because they like marketing. They're getting into social because they like social. And it's causing a real issue where I think there's a great reckoning coming where even though I think
that
organic.
also sounds like really scary.
It is. I mean, it's
reckoning.
You basically unlocked like my biggest passion point and fear point and frustration with my own industry.
You're afraid?
Yes. Like not for myself, but like
okay.
Like I believe in the power of organic social, like so many of us do. It can be really incredible. We've seen it work wonderfully for so many brands. I think so many new social pros are not learning marketing thinking.
Yeah.
And they're just thinking in views.
Yeah.
And half the time they're thinking in views that have nothing to do with their products.
Yeah.
And they look up to like, I think what Duolingo's done is incredible on TikTok.
Yeah.
I think what Wendy's did on Twitter back in the day was incredible.
Yeah. Typically.
But what those worked, they were first movers in those tones and strategies. And they were so viral that you naturally will see success. They both drove business by being so viral. But what it caused was a huge echo of copycats who are not even sort of viral, but then also not making content that has anything to do with their businesses.
Yeah.
And it's just turned into this where like I really worry that everyone's just out here making trend content when the way I was brought up, and maybe it's because I worked in video games, like my first 10 years were in video game marketing, which is, for one, it's a fun industry.
Yeah.
And
two,
gamers
are the best people to hire, by the way.
It's a great community. Gamers they really understand products.
And they understand tech, they're tech savvy, which is what this world's about. And like problem solvers and good team
100%.
players, because they're like used to like being good teams in like multiplayer games.
100%.
They're the best.
No. Like your squad leader on Call of Duty might make a good manager.
Hell yeah.
But the great thing about working in games was I'd be given like, here's the features we want to market. Here's the emotional benefits of the game. Like the briefs that you get working in video game marketing are exceptional. So I knew which things to push. And it's like my job was to make this thing compelling in a way that caused purchase. I think when we look a lot of brand social, I don't know if that's even true half the time, which is concerning because that's literally the only thing we're getting paid to do.
I know. It's like I was really surprised by the when I was like meeting some of these like social media managers behind brands, because like to me, if you're going to be a social media manager, like that's the key, right? Like it's like, how do you make content? But then like also I was just like so confused what a social media manager was, because I remember being like, shouldn't they be like, if that's their job, shouldn't they like also be like at least making some of the content? Because it's like, to me, if I was a social media manager, and it's probably like, again, like we think the same, like it would behoove me to like rely on someone else making the content, because I'm like I just feel like if the more content you put out there and the better the content is, like you'd want to like help make the content, right? I don't know.
Well, it's like, and you tell me how you stop me, because I can deep dive on all this stuff. You tell me when we're going too deep for the pod.
The only thing we need to think about is like we must be funny.
Oh, well, that's a challenge.
Have to be funny.
I have to be funny.
I'm gonna ask you what the most laughable business moment is, but we must be funny.
We must be funny.
So
okay.
like,
I should just give you like my
harder.
like a perfect example of me like not understanding the role of social media.
Okay.
This is super early career. This is first ever client of mine. So I worked on a video game for DC Comics, which was super fun. Like I was literally posting content on the Batman Facebook page.
Cool.
Crazy opportunity.
Yeah.
And there's, as everyone knows in superhero stories, there's all kind of like alternate stories. And one of our characters was there's like a Russian version of Batman, or I'm sorry, of Superman, and I forget what that character's name is or how he's portrayed, but it's...
Can you give us an example of like what this guy would sound like?
Absolutely not. We do not do accent work.
Come on.
0%. No, we're skipping that.
All right, fine.
No, but the backstory of that character was, what if Superman landed in Russia instead of America?
Uh-huh.
What I thought was a good idea, and this is, again, like me being a 20-something like moron, there had just been a huge meteor crash in Russia while we were marking the game. And my idiot self was like, oh, we could like tie the character reveal to this.
Like Superman could be like in that meteor.
Exactly. Like something like that.
Yeah,
like the reveal of this. And my client looked me dead in the eyes like, you want to use like a situation that caused a lot of deaths to promote our game. And I just felt the blood drain from my face. And like, it's like, I honestly think that that kind of idea would get made in 2024 social media, 2025 social media.
Yeah,
which is crazy.
So
but like, that was one of those moments where like, it's like, I am shame. I like went into my little hole. My boss didn't even say anything to me because she saw my reaction, was just laughing at me. But it's like, you work in these industries, you start thinking extremes and views. And someone's got to remind you to like sit back in reality.
No, yeah, because you like, it's hard with social media because you don't want to overthink it and you don't want to be insensitive, especially like nowadays. Like it's just hard to like not be insensitive. Like you're always going to offend someone. But then it's like you have to like draw that line for yourself of like where like, because some of the most like the social media accounts with like the most followings are like literally like being bullies and people love it. Like it's funny. It's like, but it's drawing that line is really hard. And it's like, do you want to like, it's just I don't even know how to like.
I've really tried to like, don't get me wrong, I'm a thought leader. Like I have to write opinion pieces and I can be snarky in the piece. Like I wrote an article today about the future of TikTok followers and where they're going. And I put in all caps, they're not going to Red Note because none of us speak Mandarin. So like I can be snarky, but something I'm really focused on is trying to be positive or optimistic or high value in the content I put out. Just because like maybe this is like typical, you're in your 30s and you start seeing life differently. Like there's just so much negativity.
There's so much,
It genuinely scares me how much we seem to enjoy the tea.
I know.
I mean, there's a woman who went super viral on TikTok in the last week or two for taking off her wedding makeup. And then the makeup artist who did the makeup went viral for her response for that. And it turned into all these fake journalists making content about that content. And it's just everyone wanting tea. Like there's no substance to any of it. And like I get it. Like all the studies show that people like to like unwind with reality TV. And watching that kind of stuff makes us either feel better about ourselves or makes us unwind. It's not how I think, but statistically that's how a lot of people enjoy it. I just don't want to make content that contributes to that type of stuff. Yeah,
it actually, I feel like you can kind of relate it to like the paid media thing we were talking about because it's like, it's almost like addicting because like it does like, and even like the whole like sex sells, like it's like easy almost. Like it's like, you know that like drama brings content. And like, and same thing with like the paid media. It's like, well, why would you spend so much time and effort in organic social when you could just like make a piece of shit content and put $10 behind it and get views? Like it's like the easy way in my opinion, and I think there's like a tasteful way of sharing things and being vulnerable and like if it's like about yourself and it's not putting other people down, but it is kind of like drama, like there's a way to put the kind of like drama into your content or like in a less like I don't like when it brings other people down. That's like my thing. Yeah.
I mean, so you said sex sells. So I did work on an ad campaign that Tinder banned.
Tinder banned it?
Yeah, one that I worked on. Because they said it was too sexualized.
Really?
And it wasn't sexualized at all. But like this is like the craziest phone call we got. So I worked on the video game Rock Band.
Okay.
For Rock Band 4. It was their big return. They hadn't released, like we've all played like the plastic intros for. It was their big comeback. And we were doing all kinds of weird stuff. We even made some stuff for Grindr. But we were trying to find creative ad campaigns to do. And
so you were working for Rock Band, but
I was at an ad agency.
Oh, I see.
And
okay.
Rock Band was our client.
I see. Okay.
And it was funny. The way we got that work was one of my old bosses like, "What do you guys want to work on? Like, what's your dream video game?" I was like, "Get me Rock Band." Like, I've spent hundreds of dollars, and he actually pulled it off. And he put me in the pitch, and I was one of the people that helped win it. So like, I got to work with them for a year, which was unbelievable.
How cool.
But like, we wanted, and they challenged us, like, do creative stuff, do different stuff, like, do run of the mill, but also like just be innovative out there.
Yeah.
So we pitched this idea. This is pre-Hinge becoming what Hinge is, like early Bumble. This is where Tinder is massive.
Yeah.
What we pitched was Tinder had just launched advertising, and we were going to do an ad for each of the instruments as fake Tinder profiles. So it's like a Tinder profile pops up, and like a girl who will be like a good-looking woman, but like has the drumsticks and is like pointing at the camera, and like they had videos for those Tinder profiles. And we're gonna do them with like half men, half women.
Yeah.
We were told it was too sexy.
Huh.
Like Tinder called us like, we can't do that. This is a little too much. We're like, you're Tinder. Excuse us? And we had to kill the whole thing.
They didn't even let you like scale it back a little?
No. Well, I don't think we could have scaled it back. Like, it was already pretty wholesome at the end of the day. Like, there was nothing scantily clad. It was just happened to be a Tinder ad.
Interesting.
And instead, we ended up doing, I forget what it was exactly, but we ended up doing something with Grindr. Where I think it was like I think we had product that had the Grindr logo where you could like put it on in game. But it's just like, it's funny. All these companies have different tastes. Like, you never know. You just pitch stuff and weird things happen.
And also, you'd be surprised what like some brands are okay with. And like, I also think that it's worth pitching it, because what's the worst thing is like, they say no. And it's fun to give like, okay, here's the conservative side, but if you guys want to go really crazy, here's also a crazy idea that could be like so fun.
Well, and I would always try to, like, most of my career was spent pitching, let's say like $1 to $10 million creative activations or creative AOR campaigns.
You have to define what AOR is.
Agency of record. So like when I would work with a brand for a year's worth of social content, that would include their product launches and their evergreen stuff. Or in the video game industry, you mostly work on launch campaigns. So it's like for Rock Band, they paid us X amount of money to do 9 months of content from the announcement of the game to the release of the game.
Cool.
So that was my specialty. And like one of my frustrations as I developed some kind of my own pitch practices was, if you pitch the safe idea, that's what they're going to buy. 10 out of 10 times. And now I made my career on not pitching wild and crazy. I made my career on pitching very creative but still smart, which I think is an important nuanced difference that I don't know if – I think it takes a lot of years to get there. Because I pitched all kinds of stuff that like in retrospect, like no one was going to ever buy that thing.
Yeah.
But now it's like, how can you expand what the brand's trying to do? Like, and like be wildly creative without being controversial. There are ways to, like, I hate when I hear people like, the way to be successful is like be controversial. Bullshit. Yeah. Like you can be compelling.
Again, that I feel like is like an easy way out. It's like
it's cheap.
It's like so addictive to like go those routes, because it's just
I mean, there's a Coors Light campaign right now that I got pitched to cover, and I don't think it's very good, so I haven't covered it. They basically put up an Instagram post and then some Times Square billboards.
This is funny because he's like, I'm not going to cover it, but I'm going to talk about it on this podcast. But I'm not going to cover it.
I'm going to thought lead it.
Okay.
But they misspelled a word in the ad.
On purpose?
They did it on purpose.
Yeah, right.
And they emailed me and like, hey, like, here's it. Like, what about this? I was like, did you guys do this on purpose? They're like, well, we don't want to say, but this is also coming out the next day. And they're calling it like, we had a case of the Mondays, and that's why we misspelled something. And now we're doing, I forget what the big payoff was, but when I was looking at it today, I'm like,
it's like such a typical like email tactic now too, where it's like someone, sends an email that has a typo in it, and then like originally it probably was like, oh shit, this was an accident. So I sent out a follow-up email and that said like, oops, I spelt this wrong. And then you realize like, oh my God, like this typo made me all this money because I like apologized and the second email did better. Like,
well, you just imagine they're like, and it's going to go viral because people are going to take photos of our big typo.
Or
no
they
one
like
cared.
a lot of the comments will grow because it's like people are like, you idiot, you spelled this wrong. Yeah. And they're like looking for
it. Like, it's just like my reaction to the whole thing, I was like, wah, wah.
Yeah.
Like, it's fine.
Yeah.
But like, this is where it's.
And it will like work but it's just kind of lazy.
And it's lazy, and it's like it's not even attached to the product. Like they're like, we have case of the Mondays, and case of the Mondays, here's course. I'm like,
so
we can do better than that.
Right.
Like, and I get like, don't get me wrong, I've never worked in alcoholic advertising. It's a tough space, a lot of regulations.
Yeah.
But like, I know we can do more compelling than fake typo.
Yeah.
It's just helping people get to creative ideas that are strong. And then the pushback I would have for the clients is you guys got to allow people to make stuff that's good. Because I guarantee you there's millions and millions of really wonderful ideas where the client's like, can't do that, not comfortable doing that. And it's not because they're risque.
Yeah.
It's because they're so they're so worried about brand safety at all times. That just doing anything innovative, like, nope, we're going to do the easiest thing possible.
Yeah.
We're going to put a ton of money behind it, and I'm not going to get fired because we did the responsible thing.
Yeah. I think the whole world of risk versus reward for social and just like brands in general is so fascinating because sometimes like you can break the rules. And like once you get big enough, it's so interesting that the part of the conversation is like, yeah, we know we might get sued for this, but like the lawsuit would cost less than the brand, like image boost and like what would like come from the lawsuit. I think it's like such a fascinating way where it's like, oh, we're not scared to be sued anymore because it could like benefit us more than it could hurt us.
Right.
And it's only a possibility. That's like if we get sued.
Well, everyone loves that story about Michael Jordan's first signature shoe. It didn't meet the NBA's guidelines for what a shoe color could be. And they got a fine for it. So then Nike turned that into a commercial. Yeah. That made those shoes fly off the shelves. And don't get me wrong, the story I just told is the version that we all know. And there's like, it's kind of been turned into a myth at this point. There's some details in it. But like parts of that did happen. And it drove huge sales. Like, so don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to get my client sued. I think it's like a dangerous place.
Right.
But like there are ways to
I am because I have Jackie. Just kidding. I will never put someone in that position.
I just learned that Jackie is the like team mom / runs the operation.
I love when people describe Jackie. Can we actually talk about Jackie for a second?
I've met Jackie today. I have sent another person a text saying, I just need to hire a Jackie.
I want to put that on a shirt. Jackie said that she thinks it's too niche, but everyone always says, I need a Jackie. That's like when I talk about Jackie, they say, I need a Jackie. So I want to make a shirt that says, I need a Jackie.
I don't think I would wear it because I think it'd be weird that it has my half name on it. But sure, I support it.
Right. Yeah, no, Jackie's amazing. She's, the listeners know. But yeah, it's just such a fascinating world. And I don't think that there's just like many people that do social well. Like it is way harder than anyone can ever, and people know this, but then like, I don't think that it's like, I feel it's like very similar to the way people view customer support actually, where it's like undervalued and like not really, people don't understand how hard it actually is.
Well, I think that it's funny. I got called out for being too hard on social media managers. And I actually thought it was fair feedback because what they said is like, I've definitely made a lot of content about how like what I think social media managers are doing wrong, both for their clients and their careers. And the comment was, no one's teaching us. Yeah. We're all making it up. And I think that's fair. Like something I've seen, like I'm 36, like I started in the industry.
And you're like, I am teaching you. Don't you read my newsletter?
I'm trying to teach them through the side. But like a lot of my peers, like the people who I started in the industry with, and even some of the ones who I think are just wildly talented, they all fell out of love with social and they got out of it. Yeah. Like they either didn't want to manage people or like wanted to move into brand marketing because they felt like social disrespected. Yeah. So like when I look around, like, and I obviously like I'm now a personality. I'm not working. I don't have a team anymore. Right. When I look around for like the people I trust, none of them are in positions to teach people anymore because they all fell out of love with it. So this new industry, like they're basically having to remake the whole thing up.
Yeah.
Like it's not this whole thing that social changes every day. I've always thought that was total bullshit. But they're not being taught. They have the same managers that I had.
Well,
where it's like
and
marketing
also-
leaders, not social professionals.
Exactly. And I see like those leaders struggle too because they're like, that's why I hired you. But I don't have that experience, but I need someone on my team. So like,
Yeah.
it's like how to like, yeah, it is like a big kind of just like gap.
Yeah, I feel like we're not being funny, but like the big piece of like career advice I give people who start in social is for the first 5 years of your career, work for someone else who has a social title.
Yeah.
Because the only chance you have to learn stuff.
Yeah.
Like otherwise you're going to have to make it all up as you go. And you can really like put your career in array, like where you're not, who knows where you're supposed to go, and you don't know how other people do this. So like work for a senior social manager or a director of social, like find a job like that.
Yeah.
Don't work for a marketer because you just won't learn like any of the rigor. Not that there's that much rigor in the first place.
Yeah. So interesting. Someone we actually have talked about her on another podcast, but someone I really respect right now in the social space, which like I don't think she gets enough credit. Her name's Carmen, and she works for Gorgeous, which is a tech platform, which is like I feel like social for tech is like also really challenging because it's like, okay, I want to be informative and like help, like, and you know, there's like all kinds of like things you can do, but she has found a way to just like be really funny and like do kind of like dumb stuff that's just entertaining. Like one of the things she did that I like really liked this piece of content, she like went around and she asked everyone who works there without warning to draw the logo of the companies that they work for.
Okay.
And just like watching everyone's reactions and being like, oh God, like, you know, like, and just drawing it out. And it was like horrible. It was just like such a good like idea that's so simple. And like just watching her like take a tech company and make like silly content out of it. That's like, it doesn't need to be like, here's why you buy our tech. And you know, like, I think that people like get into this box of like that, and it just like has to be just that. But it's super cool to see her just like go out there. And again, she is the I just like admire her because she's hired for, you know, the social like I don't know what her title is, but social media manager. And typically those people aren't the ones that, like a lot of times not making the content, but she goes out there and like makes the content, but then also utilizes other like she's just like not afraid to like do it herself.
Well, like another good example is I forget her name, but she runs social for Beehive, which is the newsletter platform that I use. Future Socials on Beehive, and the content. She's clearly a content team of one, and they've given her all the reasons people should start newsletters and how to be successful in newsletters, and she's out there making all kinds of stuff. And don't get me wrong, some of it's not for me. Like she shows up in like a bee costume to a meeting. I'm like, haha, funny. But then she does plenty of stuff where it's like, I can't quote something specific, but like it's compelling and it's different and it's not typical like lead magnet stuff. Because the trick of all this is you need to view like the entire way you're marketing to a customer. I am going to receive targeted ads for a newsletter platform. And I'm going to receive some type of email marketing that sends me to a one sheet or a lead magnet of some sort. And then I'm also going to get her own creative touch on what this thing is. They don't all have to serve the same purpose. Like it's like we got to look at the entire customer journey for this stuff.
I also think that there is it's undervalued where I know we say like views aren't everything, but sometimes like your content and like you're building a social media following, it's like the person following you right now like doesn't have to buy right now, but it's like if someone has to see so many pieces of content or like be so involved with your brand for so long, so it's like sometimes just like make the content so that people want to follow the page, like not so that like they will buy right now. And also there is like a aspect in engagement where it's like, okay, maybe it's not going to sell a bunch, but like it's like entertaining, and if people see, it's like credible to have more engagement, especially engagement and not views, where like that's also helpful for your brand to like nobody's going to trust someone that's like two followers.
I'm all views. I could almost if I got no comments but a bajillion views, I'm happier.
Do you think though that people? Well, maybe it's just because I know what's going on, but like sometimes when I see all views, no comments, I'm like,
It should get some comments. I think a lot of social media managers are focused on comments.
Yeah.
Because that's affirmation for the work they're doing.
Yeah.
To me, it's actually not strategically what's most valuable. Like we know that shares is
what about if you see a video that has a ton of views but no likes?
A ton of views. That just won't happen because it probably won't. If it doesn't get any likes, it won't continue to get served to things.
Well, that's where I think that it's
or it's ad content.
Yeah. That's where I'm like it has to be like, it has to make sense.
You got to have all of them in some portion, right? But like I'm views, likes, and then comments. Because to me, like if I'm working for a brand, I want my content to be seen by as many people as possible. Yeah. And like I've worked for brands where like Microsoft Surface is a brand I worked for a long time. You don't upgrade your Surface every year. Yeah. You upgrade every the same pace you upgrade a computer.
Yeah, yeah.
So if I'm focused on comments, that's people who I've already maximized profits with for the most part. Yeah. They might buy a keyboard cover or they lose their pen and they buy a pen or something like that. But like I've already sold them the thing I have to sell them if they're so deep into it that they're leaving comments on a brand Instagram account.
Yep.
So like if I want to go out there and reach a new audience, I need to be focused on views and shares.
Yeah.
Because the people asking comments, like they're clarifying, they're important. I don't ignore them, but like get your brand as wide as possible. Like think about top of funnel. Yeah. I think of comments as very mid funnel personally.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting how complementary it all is together because like if you have a good like middle funnel, that complements the new people seeing, because it's also such a fun thing to be like, okay, I'm watching this video, like I'm running to the comments that like I can't wait to see what the comments say. Yeah. And I love the strategy of when like the brands commenting on viral content, and then like people will see the brand's comment and like follow the brand from like a funny comment. Like that to me is like thinking outside the box.
The outward community management's becoming really popular.
Yeah.
It's one of the 2025 predictions I saw a lot is for that to increase, which it's interesting. Like community management's making kind of a comeback.
Yeah.
I think it's tough because paying someone to exclusively comment on things, a lot of those people want a lot more pay than the companies can afford to give them.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, you want to spend almost all of your budget if you're doing social on making great content, whatever that means. Maybe it's not production value, but just like on people who make wonderful content. So the question of like what you pay community management is really tough because there can be great value.
Yeah.
But where does it exist in the social ecosystem and social budgets is a big question mark.
Yeah. We're coming up on time, but really quickly, I wanted to see thoughts on Liquid Death.
I walked in here drinking one.
Yeah.
I think that everything they do is magnificent. I think it's both a product I enjoy.
Yeah.
And it's just like the biggest troll of who we are as humans ever.
Yeah.
Like there's a million sparkling water brands I could get. I originally got it because it's funny and because I'm a sucker for advertising. I work in the industry. I think the only product thing they've done that's different, like for the actual like waters, they're tall boys, which I actually like. So like I just think everything they do is fantastic. Like I think they really get top of funnel. Yeah. They do awesome stuff.
For the listeners who don't know like too much about it, they literally have a comedian and maybe multiple on staff, and they will sit in a room and they will brainstorm like the most wild ideas for these like ad campaigns and just do it. It's like, it's so cool. Like,
well, and they're great at low budget too. Not everything they do, like they built their mascot, which like those are not cheap. So I'm sure that cost them some money. But like they parodied a Banksy thing the other day, like and tried to sell it for a ton of money.
Yeah.
They just know, they understand the internet. They understand culture. They know how to do things within their staff's ability.
Yeah.
Like they're killing it. And they're
it's so
$1 billion
cool.
brand. It's crazy.
Yeah. It's really, really cool. And then two last things before we wrap up. One, if you had like one piece of advice for a brand who's like struggling at organic social, maybe they just lost, they have been relying on paid media. What would you tell them to do?
Hire a content creator in-house, not as an influencer. Hire them to actually work in your company and make video content. Like a great place to start is find somebody that has like 30 to 40,000 followers. That's usually not enough where they're making a living, but they're getting audience. Those people want work. Like, bring them into your brand and brief them. And the fact that they're not advertising professionals is probably the best thing for you.
I love that advice. And I was going to ask because sometimes it's just hard to find or like even know who the right person to hire is if you don't know social.
Sure.
Do you think that have you seen a lot of successful social media managers who don't have their own following in some sort?
This is like the biggest debate ever. And it shouldn't be a debate at all. There are many wonderful social media managers who at the end of the day don't want to be public.
Right.
There are many who do want to be public. I want to be public. Having a personal brand is not necessarily indicative of being better at social than someone who doesn't. But if I don't have all the time in the world and resource to go find like the person, having a personal brand is a career hack. That's why I just launched a course on personal branding.
I was going to make sure you plugged that before.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
No, it's having a personal brand is a career hack. Like now I'm a full-time content creator, but that Twitter account that I built, I got 3 full-time jobs that I took through Twitter DMs. I interviewed to become Jimmy Fallon's director of social through a Twitter DM.
Dang, yeah.
My first $200K salary from a Twitter DM from someone who had read my content, had never once engaged with me. But when I tweeted that I was laid off, DM'd me. He's like, "Hi, I work at Twitch. Would you want to work here?" And I worked there for 2 years. Like, had a blast.
Yeah.
So you don't have to have a personal brand. Having a personal brand should not be like the main reason you hire someone in social. But yeah, a lot of people are going to search for that. Like the last time I had to hire somebody at an agency to work on a pretty known video game, I had 500 applicants.
Wow, yeah.
And like
So,
I'm someone who really takes hiring seriously. Like I shut down my schedule to like really review as many as possible. But yeah, if someone's got an audience where then I can view their content and view how they talk about their careers, they go to the top of the pile because of course they do.
Yeah, and for those who don't have a following or they want to be, private, it's like such a good practice for your career to do. It doesn't even have to be like yourself and you being public, but if you have like some type of like passion that you want to create like a faceless Instagram or like following, like it's so good to practice those things to improve and like fail to learn and do that stuff. So
I think you learn a lot more when you have to make content for yourself.
Yeah.
Whether like,
and you care more too, or you understand and
whether you want to build a personal brand about your business so you can advance your career, which that's been my specialty in a lot of ways. And that's what my course is about. Or like if you work in social, then want to have a personal brand that's about your primary interests. They're all valid, but a lot of what I've brought to the table for the brands I worked for are stuff that I tried on my personal accounts that I thought was compelling.
Yeah.
So just go make things. It's like make more things. And like the more content you make, the better you're going to be at this stuff.
Really quick, where can people find you?
My name is ridiculous. So if you just search Jack Appleby,
It's with an E, not a Y.
No, it's with a Y.
It's with Y with Nani. Oh.
Appleby. It's pronounced Appleby, but I'm Jack Appleby across most of the platforms. You'll see me. Sometimes there's an MY, sometimes it's Jappleby. And then my newsletter's Future Social. Subscribe to that if you want to learn social things. And then if you want my course, it's called The Personal Social Strategy. There's links to it all throughout my social media accounts. Shoot me a comment. I can send you a discount code.
Sweet. We will link all of that in the show notes as well. And don't forget to like, comment, subscribe to all those things. Send this to your grandma. She really wants to meet Jack Appleby. And we will catch you in the next one. Bye. You know what to do. Like, comment, subscribe, and catch us in the next episode. And thank you for listening.